Hello, how are you doing? My name is Professor RSK, and I will be your facilitator. Don't forget to keep safe by washing your hands with soap and under running water. Wear your nose mask and practice social distancing. Do well to write all your questions in the comments section. And also note that your comments are welcome. Join me in class for today's lesson. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You can also join us on all social media platforms by clicking on the link below. You can also read more lessons on our website www.profrsk.com. Thank you. Hello, welcome once again to Higher Science. Today we're going to discuss properties of metals. Every material has its own property, unique property. A wood has its unique property, and then that of plastic will also have its property. Today we are not looking at wood or plastic, but we are considering the properties of metals. Alright, so without wasting much time, let us go to what we want to do for today. I said that most of the elements in the periodic table are metals. Yes, most of the elements in the periodic table are metals. A few of them are innate gases, and then others are also having other properties. Alright, and the properties of metals can be best explained by its structure and then bonding. So it is very important for us to know that most of the elements in the periodic table are metals, and then also it is also very important for us to know that the properties of metals can be explained in terms of their metallic structure and then their bonding. This is chemical explanation. I will not be looking much into the chemical structure and then the chemical bonding, the covalent bond, the ionic bonding, and then all those things. We will not be looking at that at our level, but we want to look at the physical properties of metals. And what we are doing is that we have to understand that metals have high melting point. Now, in explaining this, I want you to understand that when we take a metal, every metal can undergo melting. Okay, every metal can undergo melting, but the ability for the metal to undergo melting depends on the amount of energy that is subjected to, or that metal is subjected to. So when you take a piece of metal, that piece of metal can boil or can melt when it is subjected to some amount of energy. And here we are looking at heat energy. All right, so when we take a piece of metal and then we subject high heat energy to it, that metal will melt. But the amount of heat that we are applying to the metal determines how high the melting point is. So melting point is the temperature at which both solid state and liquid state coexist. Okay, so melting point is the temperature at which both solid state and liquid state coexist. That is how we call it. That is how we define it. All right. But we are not looking at that. But we want you to understand that the more heat, the more energy we give to a metal for it to melt, that is the intensity, that is the melting point. That temperature is what we are looking at. Okay, so the more energy needed for a metal to melt at its melting point. So I want you to get that concept and then get it very well. Every metal has its melting point. All right, the temperature at which where solid and liquid will coexist. All right, so that is it. So metals have high melting point compared to ice, compared to plastic, and then what have you. All right, so let's take note of this one. Then the next one, we will also be looking at metals are good conductors of electricity. Yes, metals are good conductors of electricity. What does it mean? It means that it allows electricity to flow through them easily. Every metal has the ability to allow electricity to flow through it. At our level, we will not be looking at the basic component. We will not be looking at the ingredient, or if I can say that, the main things that are going to allow the smooth flow of electricity. Talk about the electrons. We will not be looking at that at our level, but as we progress, we'll be touching on them. So it is very important for us to know that every metal allows the smooth flow of electricity. All right, so we move to the next one. It says metals are good conductors of heat. Very true. These we can always see in our mother's kitchen. Just put the ladle in the soup and allow it to boil for some time. When you touch the ladle, you realize that the heat from the soup has passed through, okay, has been transferred from the part that is in the pot to the part that you are holding. And that explains why some part of our ladles are made of plastic and then wood, so that the heat cannot be transferred through the plastic material or the wood material. So I want you to just go to the kitchen right now, observe the tools that you have in the kitchen, especially the ladles and then the spoons. You realize that some of them are made of wood, and then others are also made of plastics. Okay, the tail end of the ladle is made of plastic, and that explains how scientists are trying to curb this issue of metals being good conductors of heat. Then the next one, that is point number 4, we are saying that metals have high density. Metals have high density. And what we simply want to mean is that metals have high mass for their size. When you take a small piece of metal, the mass of that metal is very heavy. Okay, so any piece of metal you take, you realize that it is heavy. Comparing the size to the weight, or if I can say that, the mass, as in weighing it, you realize that every piece of metal has its weight, and that is what we are talking about. All right. So that is metals have high density. We want to look at the last but one, which says metals are malleable. Metals are malleable. Metals are malleable because they can be beaten into various shapes or hammered into various shapes. All right. So when you take any metal that can be changed into any other shape, then we are saying that that metal is malleable. We also have metals to be ductile. That is, they can be drawn into fine wire, or they can be changed into wires. There are other properties of metals that time will not permit us. I want you to go back and then analyze all these things. We have metals having shiny surfaces, their luster property, and then we also have other properties. I want you to go and then analyze them and then do more research. It's been Prof RSK, your host. Thank you very much for joining us for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Kindly subscribe to our channel and help it grow. Read more on our website www.profrsk.com and search for Prof RSK on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Telegram. Join us again for another lesson. Bye bye.